Hey guys, welcome back to the QuickShifts channel. My name is Jason, and today we're going to do an update on our 2020 RAV4 Hybrid XSE. We've had it for just 1 month shy of a year, 11 months of ownership. We've put on 25,452 miles, and that's a good bit of wear and tear in the first year. And we're going to tell you all the ups and downs of owning this vehicle and our impressions of it, and would we recommend it for you. So stick around as we walk you through our first 11 months and 25,000 miles. So let's start off with driving impressions. So over the first 25,000 miles, we have seen a little bit of break-in in how it drives. I will say that overall though, we're really impressed and very happy with this purchase and with how it drives. It's a smaller SUV, and it is very nimble. You can turn it around in a street, and the turning ratio is tight enough that in many cases you don't have to do a 3-point turn to turn it around. You can just whip it around. It's very agile. It makes it very convenient for city driving downtown, getting into tight parking lots and tight parking spaces. It's really an ideal vehicle. Now for the ride and the comfort, we have seen it degrade very little. It's just a little bit of a little bit harsher ride, but it's nothing out of the normal, nothing that would alarm me. It's actually exactly what you would expect in a vehicle like this. It's a smaller Toyota vehicle, so it's going to be a little bit harsher than a larger, heavy vehicle. But overall, very satisfied with it. Holding up great, riding very well. Now, being a hybrid vehicle, you do get used to the quietness of the ride, and when you take passengers that aren't familiar with the vehicle, they're always making comments about how quiet it is and how nice of a ride it is, and you take it for granted when you get used to it until you have someone else in the vehicle driving around with you. But again, driving impressions, awesome. Couldn't be happier with it. It's held up great. It's driving very smoothly. The steering is still as tight as it was when we first purchased it. We haven't seen any degradation in the steering ratio or feel. Suspension has gotten a little bit harsher, but all in all, great ride, great quality, holding up as you would expect it, and no complaints whatsoever. Alright guys, so let's talk about the exterior of the car and how well it's held up. After just over 25,000 miles, the exterior of the car, a lot of those are road trip miles on the freeway. If you take a look at the exterior, not too many chips in the paint, which surprises me. There's a couple on here that are to be expected, but all in all, it's really held up really well, and I've been impressed with the paint quality. A lot of cars, they start chipping up, but this one hasn't done it. Now we do have the protective shield on the hood here, but the front portion of it does not. And I gotta say, I really love this white pearl flake. It looks great on this car. We haven't had any issues with the wheels. They clean up really well. The tires have been holding in there. Some decent wear and tear on the tires. Actually holding up better than you would expect, but no curving on the wheels. The back of the car, I will say, after owning it this long and doing a lot of detailing, this is where all your dirt collects. Right here, for some reason, this is the magnet, and it all comes down and sits right here on the back of the car. So when you're cleaning it, there's your dirty spot. But again, wheels on this side, no nicks, scratches, anything's over here. It's still looking great, still holding up well. Our sunroof, no leaks, no issues. Nothing to complain about there, and still looks good. You don't have many chips on the top. Again, everything seems to flow right over the top of this car and ends up on the back. So this is the dirty spot you got to keep clean. Tailpipes are both still very clean. No signs of any oil collecting on the back of them. Very happy with how it's holding up from the exterior. All right guys, so let's also take a quick look under this hood. Now this is one of the very few times I've actually had to open this hood over the 11 months of owning this. So I apologize, it's pretty dirty in here. As far as that goes, it's never been touched. other than by the Toyota mechanics doing the oil changes. We have done all of our regular maintenance on this, and the way that our deal worked with Toyota, they cover all the oil changes. So every 5,000 miles, we just bring it into Toyota and let them do their service interval, and haven't had to do anything about it. Have had no complaints, no issues at the dealership. They've done a great job. They get us in and out, and the only thing that they bring up is the tire wear, which you can see clearly is not that big of a deal. It's, you know, better than average actually. They're not showing signs of wearing prematurely. I don't have any problems with how it drives on the road. No slipping, sliding. Again, very happy with that. So let's go ahead and jump inside and talk about the interior wear and tear, and then we'll talk about our gas mileage that we're seeing. So 25,000 miles, getting in and out of this vehicle. Let's talk about the seats and how they're holding up. Now, as you guys can see, you are getting some wear lines in the seat, but really those are nothing at all. And I think these are holding up really well. I am not a small guy. I'm not going to pretend to be. So I spend a lot of time sitting in this seat over that mileage, and with my big butt sitting in here, it's still wearing very, very well. No really bad signs. So it's still a very comfortable seat, supports you very well, and I'm very happy with that. So quickly, let's jump into the back where my son sits. Now, he's a Twiggy toothpick, so he doesn't do anywhere, and these still look brand new. No issues here. The folding down cup holder still works great. It's still very clean. I would say if we did have a complaint here, it would be these air vents. They are here, they are functional, but they don't function very well. They're not very strong. They don't provide a lot of air back here. And for my son, if you asked him what his biggest complaint was, he would tell you that he needs more AC. So maybe Toyota will listen to that and boost up the power for the back seat. Now let's open up the trunk. Again, it's an automatic trunk, and you'll have to excuse my camera equipment and whatnot back here, but we've got the mat in here, and you'll notice that I flipped it upside down, and that's because we often bring our dogs with us, and it's a lot easier to clean their hair up off of this side of the mat than it is off of this side. So we found that as a nice trick to do. Just flip that sucker over, makes cleaning up real easy. But again, their claws aren't doing much damage. It's still nice and neat back here. It's real quick to wipe it down and clean it up. Very happy with this. I even get my big 130-pound junkyard dog back here when I take him to the vet, and he has no issue sitting back here. We find that we often don't use this piece. I mean, it's a nice piece, but we more so leave that closed and don't end up using that. But no complaints with the trunk. Plenty of space for groceries, luggage, obviously, as we're driving all over the place on our road trips. Very nice place, and the sound system and subwoofer is very nice. Again, we'll pop in here real quick. Like I was saying, just as you saw on the other side, not much wear and tear on these seats. You do get a little scuffing here on the ledge, but not a big deal. It wipes up easily, but these are holding up really well. And door sill still looking nice. Still, the blue stitching is great. No signs of wear and tear. Maybe a little scuff here, but you know, nothing bad. Now the passenger seat. Obviously spending a good amount of time in here, but you can see my wife isn't quite my size. And when she's sitting in here, you can see there aren't very many wear and tear marks in here at all, showing little to no wear. And that's exactly what you would expect and want to see. So again, floor's holding up. Even these floor mats are holding up really well, and really happy with how this is wearing thus far. So let's go ahead and jump inside. On the interior of it, dashes are holding up well, no issues there. The screen is holding up well. The digital screen has had no issues. You do notice when the camera in the back on the top of the windshield gets dirty, it does have an impact on this, and you'll find that you do clean your rear window more often if you're a fan of this. Now, my wife never adjusted to it, and she still likes to stay in the manual mode and use the old school mirror as it was intended. But I'm a big fan of the digital. Guests in the car always love to see it, and they're like, I can't look away. It's like watching a TV screen. So I really love that we did step up to the technology package and got that. A big fun factor. And you know, everything's still very comfortable. Steering wheel is still showing good. There's no signs of wear in that. It's still very comfortable. Buttons really are in logical place that make it nice to drive. And let's get down to what you guys really want to hear about. You guys want to hear about the gas mileage. So after having put on 25,453 miles, we are still averaging over 41 miles per gallon. So I'll go ahead and jump in the computer here to show you guys this. So we can go over to our history button in here, and you can see the averages for each time we reset it, where it's at. And you can tell that we're hanging around just north of 41 miles per gallon in this lifetime of the vehicle. Now, some drives, if you're trying to hypermile it, you can get it north of 45 miles per gallon. I've had it as high as 48 miles per gallon on a tank before. But if you're just driving it and you're not trying to hypermile, you'll be somewhere around 42 miles per gallon, give or take, depending on your amount of freeway driving. When we drive on the freeway, we drive around 70, 75 miles per hour typically on the freeway, and the car will stay around 40 to 38, depending on the aggressive nature of you driving. If you're zigzagging in and out of traffic, or you're in and out of construction zones, it's a little lower. If you're able to maintain your speed and you're not going up and down the mountains, which here in the upstate, we have a good bit of mountain driving that we do, especially when we're going to places like Pigeon Forge, then it does a little less, and you'll be on the lower end of the spectrum around 38. And winter driving also will bring down your MPGs. When it's colder out, it puts more strain on the battery. You don't have as much battery life, and it'll dip down into the 40s, into the high 30s, and you'll see some of that. Again, if you hypermile it, you can still keep that mileage up, and it really depends on how you want to do it. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm the hypermiler. To me, this is almost a video game, and so I take it to extremes at times, trying to get the best mileage I can. But my wife is the opposite. She wants to get to where she's going and get there quickly. So she offsets my hypermiling. And we're constantly battling back and forth. But overall, couldn't be happier with better than 41 miles per gallon as an average for the lifespan of this vehicle. And really impressed with it. And everybody who seems to come and ride with us also seems to be impressed with how we're doing. We put in about 12 gallons every time we fill up the tank. It costs us, well, gas is getting more expensive now, but it costs us roughly, say 25, we'll say on average $25 to fill the tank, and we'll get 500 to, if we want to push it really to empty, to 550 miles per a tank of gas. And that can last us, you know, 1 week to 2 weeks, depending on how much driving we're doing during that time. But, you know, can't complain. Again, really happy with this car. I would highly recommend it to people. I know they're hard to get right now, and if you find them, they're asking premiums for them, but you can't do wrong. You won't regret it. You know, when my wife first bought this car, I wasn't the most enthusiastic about her choice, and there were other options that I wanted to go with, but within that first month of ownership, it really swayed me, turned me around, and I'm really happy with this car, and I can easily recommend it to people. And I find myself being a salesman every time that I have guests in the car, selling them on the car, answering questions, and really happy with this. I hope you guys enjoyed this follow-up review. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below, and hit the like button for the video, and hit that bell so you can get updates on when new videos are released. Thank you for watching our channel. Really appreciate you guys and the support you give us, and I hope you guys have a great day.